Ka'alau Yahawashi Yahawashi Bahashim Rakakadash. All praise, honor, and glory go to the Most High Yahawah, in the name of His Son Yahawashi. And I wanted to come with another one out here at this park, do another public reading. I'm gonna come from 1 Samuel 3, and in 1 Samuel 3, it talks about a time where Samuel, as a young boy, was called by the Lord and received a vision. Received a vision that was something that was going to happen in the future, and it kind of reminds me of times when I was a young man, and I was growing up. I had a couple of things that I had in my dreams that some things I still haven't understood exactly what they all mean, but they will come to pass, and some things that I've dreamed that have come to pass. And even in this truth, being able to receive things and things that are going to happen, mainly people coming and leaving out of your life and different events happening, and you get a forewarning of it, and then when it comes, and you give all glory to Yahawashi and Yahawashi. But in 2 Samuel 3, it says, and if you don't know the story of Samuel, his mother Hannah wasn't able to have children. She prayed to have a child, and when she did that, she had a child, and she said she would give him up to the Lord. And so he grew up in the ministry right from a baby, And it says in Samuel chapter 3, it says, and the child Samuel ministered unto Yahawah before Eli, and the word of the Lord was precious in those days. So the word of Yahawah was very precious in those days. So, it was something that was very valued. Not like these times right now where the Lord, He sends out His prophets to send out messages and send out His word through His men. A lot of people just scoff at it and mock at it and hate on it. They snicker behind the back. They got things to say. But at the end of the day, they will be judged, especially those of the so-called African American, Native American, Latinos, the nation of Israel. It says, precious in those days, there was no open vision. It says, and it came to pass at that time when Eli was laid down in his place, and his eyes began to wax dim, that he could not see. And the lamp of Yahawah went out in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of Yahawah was, and Samuel was laid down to sleep. That Yahawah called Samuel, and he answered, here am I. And he ran unto Eli and said, here am I, for thou callest me. And he said, I call it not, lie down again. And he went away and lay down. And Yahawah called yet again Samuel, and Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, here am I, for thou didst call me. And he answered, I called not my son, lie down again. Now Samuel did not yet know that Yahawah, neither was the word of Yahawah revealed unto him. And Yahawah called Samuel again the third time, and he arose and went to Eli and said, here am I, for thou didst call me. And Eli perceived that Yahawah had called the child. So he realized that the Lord was the one that was calling him. He was calling him in a whisper, in the events of the night. He was calling out to Samuel to send him a vision. And as you keep on reading, the vision was against Eli. But at the end of the day, that's how the Lord speaks to us. He speaks to us through visions at times, but who's listening? Who's really trying to listen and pay attention to what the Lord is trying to say to him? You go over to the book of Job. Shalakia. The book of Job 4 and 12, I believe. It says, now a thing was secretly brought to me, and my ear received a little thereof. And thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth on men, fear came upon me and trembling, which made all my bones to shake. And sometimes these visions and his knowledge that the Lord gives you, these dreams He gives you, can cause a little fear. One of the dreams that I had when I was a little boy, I dreamed that my mom had went crazy on me, and lo and behold, once I got into this truth, she actually lost her mind. Once she found out that I was an Israelite, I knew I was an Israelite, and I was trying to explain to her what the name of the Lord was. She popped up over my house one day, and she just went crazy, and she tried to fight me. So that dream that I had when I was a little boy became more evident and clear once I got older. And I didn't have dreams of, those that, brought me into this truth. The man that brought me into this truth, who introduced me to it, him going against the man of the Lord. And that happened. I have dreams of losing, family, wives, everything. And those things have come to pass. And, I can only say, Ka'ala Yahawah Yahawashi, because at the end of the day, he forewarned me of these things through the visions of the night. And, what more can we do but give praise to his holy name for these things? In the book of Psalm 74 and 9, it says, "We see not our signs, there is no more any prophet." It says, "Neither is there among us any that knoweth how long. O Yahawah Yahawashi, how long shall the adversary reproach? Shall the enemy blasphemize thy name forever?" And for a time period, there was no, from you can say, from the time of, I guess, the Dark Ages, on all the way up to the time where Elder Abba Bivens was, awakened to, our true calling and who we really were again. There was not a lot of incidents where the Lord was speaking to the Israelites. Now he was spurring up sparks through the commandment keepers and William Crowley and Frank Cherry and even others before then. But at the end of the day, we didn't really start to get this wisdom, knowledge, understanding again until that time of Abba Bivens. And so, between all those times, the so-called white man has been in control. He's been ruling the earth. First, after the Dark Ages came out of the Caucasus Mountains, and the Lord used them to be against our people, because you got to remember that the northern tribers, the so-called American Indians and Latinos, who were going off by doing heathen cultures over here, sacrificing children and all these different things. And then when the so-called white man came over here, you treated him like he was a god. And then all he did was just turn on you and put you in chains and then took over your land. And then Judah was no better. The southern kingdom was no better, because at the end of the day, they had already made allegiances with the so-called white man, and allowing the so-called white man to think that they were Jews. So all these things angered the Lord to the point where he was not dealing with us for such a long period of time, but now he is. And now we're hoping for deliverance of our enemy, the elites of the so-called white man, as the days continue to push on. If you go over to Exodus 27 and 20, in the books of Exodus 27 and verse 20, and it says, "And thou shalt command the children of Yasharala Israel that they bring their pure oil olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamp to burn always in the tabernacle of the congregation without the veil, which is before the testimony. Aaron and his sons shall order from evening to morning before Yahawah. It shall be a statute forever unto the generations on behalf of the children of Yasharala." So just as Eli was doing the same thing in that time, and it was first started with Aaron that the Lord commanded that, these two got to keep our lamps burning in our in our tabernacle, which is our our inner selves, which is us, continuously burning for the Lord, and truth and sincerity, not calling them by that fake name JC, Jesus Christos, whatever you want to call them. Those names are fake. The letter J wasn't even around in those times. Until in those times where Yahawashi was walking. Well, you got to do it in sincerity and truth, and it has to be a statute forever that you want to keep your lamp burning for the Lord. And let's go over to lock it. a couple more precepts. This is 2 Kings 21 and 12. It says, therefore, thus says Yahawah, the power of Yasharallah. Behold, I am bringing upon Yahawashi and Judah such disaster that the ears of everyone who hears it will tingle. And that's what he's done to our people. You know, we're the lowest of the low. So-called white man just plays with us. You know, he sets up all these different measures and these laws against us. And our people, only thing they care about is driving new cars and, you know, want to make something out of this land when this is not our final resting post. You know, care about only abominational things, caring about the LGBT community, combining ourselves with them. You know, letting them call us the minority when he really is the minority. You know, and because of all these things, and because we don't trust in our power, the Lord has caused so much disaster to our people, and there's more to come. Jacob's trouble is just starting, but it's going to continue to get, you know, ramp up more and more as this king of Babylon, Trump, you know, is allowed to just, you know, even